This is crazy. Not only is Harris hemorrhaging in the polls, but Trump just laid out a huge plan for mass deportation of the illegal immigrants in the United States, and he did it exactly out of the place where a lot of people are feeling it the worst, Aurora, Colorado, where they have gangs that have taken over apartments. This is where he announced his plan to get rid of all the gangs and the criminals and to use a law that's already in place. And he said that the Biden-Harris administration could do it. The law is there. He even showed everybody the law. He said they just don't want to. On top of that, Obama's lecture to all the black men has backfired so bad that Bongino has even leaked news that the Harris campaign is in a free fall. And not just that, but it's also down ballot for the Senate and the House. The Democrats are losing big time, and a lot of people don't want to say it, but everybody's hinting that because of what's transpired over the past month, this could be a red wave. On top of that, we also have it where Josh Hawley is going after the FBI director and just grips him for going after choir directors and priests for domestic terrorism allegations, thoughts, things like that. This is crazy. Like, when you see this, you're not going to believe it. But it's great that we have pit bulls in the Senate. They're going to go and protect the American people. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. And just want to say thank you to everybody that is a member of the channel. Remember, the link is in the description to join, and also those that bless the channel and bless others with a super chat donation. We're so thankful. We're going to be making a huge donation in a little over a week and a half to the hurricane victims of Helene and Milton, and we're just going to be doing that through this channel live so that you can see that we're going to be giving back. But we appreciate you all. But let's jump right into this. We got so much news to go over today. You're going to love it. We got the top news. Check it out.
Now, despite all the nervous giggling, bizarre giggling, the joy is absolutely gone. Kamala is now dropping in the polls in state after state, hemorrhaging support among Hispanic Americans, African American men. Barack Obama, well, he was brought in for support, and he said they were not supporting Kamala, and even suggested because she's a woman, accusing, African American men of sexism. I doubt that will be particularly helpful. In reality, many are supporting Donald Trump because their lives were simply better under his administration. Let's look at the numbers. Under Trump, 4.1 million Americans were lifted out of poverty, while under Obama, the amount of people living under poverty went up 787,000, according to Fox Business.
Wow.
Minority groups experienced what was the largest improvements, while the overall poverty rate declined 1.3%. Percentage points. Black poverty, African American poverty fell by 2 percentage points. Hispanic American poverty fell by 1.8 percentage points. Asian American poverty, that fell by 2.8%. And that's not all. Wages were also way up for everyone. Quote, while the overall growth rate was 6.8%, real median income grew by an even greater 7.9% for African Americans, 7.1% for Hispanic Americans, 10.6% for Asian Americans. Now, meanwhile, inflation was almost non-existent, but under Biden and Harris, things have changed. Americans are struggling to get by.
Yep.
Those first 3 years, record low after record low after record low. Unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace, African American youth unemployment. Before the pandemic, we were rolling. Now, Kamala is only offering more of the same, or frankly, worse, if her stated positions ever became reality. In fact, with her radical economic views and her stated plans on new taxes, we would, as a country, be in huge trouble if she gets elected. It is radical. It is extreme. It would be, well, the new Green Deal would be the end of capitalism as we know it. Other than constantly claiming that she grew up in a middle class, which seems to be the answer to like every question, Kamala has no plan to bring down prices. But she did go on Univision last night, and she did unveil a brand new accent. Take a listen.
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. I hope your family is okay and your home is okay.
Yes, they are, ma'am.
Okay.
All right.
Guys, why does she keep getting so many new accents? It's like whoever she's with, she like adopts their accent just to try to appeal to them more. But that's pandering. Like, it's so apparent. Like, it really bothers me that she does this, because it's like, do you not think people are stupid? Do you think people are stupid enough to not know that that's a fake accent? That's not how you really talk?
Kamala have a plan to fix the economy? No. Does she have a plan to fix the border? Absolutely not. Will she bring peace in the Middle East and Europe? Will she hold Iran in check? Definitely not. But she does have a lot of different accents. Take a look.
Have you no empathy, man?
Union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. You all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that? And yesterday, extremists passed both bans in this year of our war, 2024. The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November. Do I see people testifying? Can I get a witness?
That's pretty bad.
Luckily, there is more to the Harris campaign than nervous giggling and fake accents, but the giggling, it's getting weird, to use their favorite phrase. Take a look.
Roughly $1 trillion with a T. I had to.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
And one of the things I love are Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams. More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids.
Guys, this is getting bad.
And say, we're not paying them nearly enough.
I'm not giggling when I go to the grocery store, if I fill up my car, when I see unvetted Harris Biden illegal immigrants and read stories they commit murder and rape and other violent crimes, and it's costing tens and tens of billions of dollars. I'm not laughing when FEMA, we find out that $1 billion was raided out of FEMA, which is supposed to help Americans during disasters, and that money went to Harris Biden, unvetted illegals. I'm not laughing when they're lifting sanctions and making the mullahs in Iran rich again so that they can foment more of their terror as the #1 state sponsor of terror. Now, she can laugh and giggle, but this weekend her campaign is rolling out Kamala's running mate to woo male voters. According to Politico, quote, the Harris campaign is sending the Minnesota governor on a man-focused media blitz.
Wow.
Okay, what's that? That includes football-focused TV interviews, pheasant hunting with digital influencers. Okay?
Let me tell you this. They're in a free-for-all. They, like, right now, this is the newest polling that has come out today. This is where things are at. That Trump is looking to win. This is across all of them, 297 to 241. Not only that, this is how bad it is for Kamala Harris right now. It is literally trending. Look at this. It is trending. Kamala Harris campaign collapse. That's how bad it is for her right now because of all of what Obama did when he came out and he basically scolded the black men, like to talk to them like they're little kids because they're not voting for Kamala Harris. And on top of that, I mean, this is pretty bad. Kamala Harris campaign collapse. When you're trending on X for something like that, that's not a good sign. And on top of that, you have it where Bongino comes out and says, you know what? We have some leaked news that things aren't looking so good for Kamala Harris. Check this out.
It is getting really bad for Kamala Harris, folks. I am hearing now from very reliable people. Yeah, they are Republicans, but people who know politics. The Kamala Harris campaign right now they are in an absolute free fall, and they are seriously worried, not just about her losing, but about down ballot effects too. If you're showing up, vote Republican down the ticket. I get it. They're not the solution to your problems. Your boy understands. However, the cause of all your problems are the Democrats. And if we don't get a Republican Senate and a House, they may be useless. But you know what the Democrat Senate House will be useful for? Impeaching Trump. I'm not telling you it's a perfect world. I'm telling you we got to deal with the world we live in. Get your ballot and do not skip a single race. R. We can clean up the mess later in primaries. I'm not telling you they're useful. I'm telling you the Democrats are useful for impeachment. At least I'm honest about it.
And I'll tell you this, it's not just that. You literally have former BLM activists. You have people that are coming out from the woodworks to come and speak about what Obama said, because people have said enough is enough. Check this out.
And all he's got is, you're being mean to her because you don't like women. In other words, they got nothing. And that's the angle. Joining me now is Xavier DeRousseau, a former BLM activist, and Anton Daniels, a YouTuber, content creator. Xavier, let's start with you. You say you were personally, after watching them, offended by Obama's comments?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, Obama's not as talented of a liar as he used to be. But quite frankly, my ancestors fought way too hard for me to have the ability to learn how to read, just for Obama to expect me to be so uneducated to think that I would vote for Kamala Harris simply because she claims to be a black woman. And I mean, if people want to stop having Kamala Harris be called a DEI hire, maybe he should stop trying to remind us of her demographic every 5 minutes. Black men not supporting Kamala has nothing to do with her being a woman. It has everything to do with her lack of accomplishments over the last 1,359 days.
Well, Anton, I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, the shtick is kind of worn thin with Obama, you know. How you doing, Pittsburgh? You know, that whole, it just seems very 2002 or 2008, I should say. Right? It doesn't quite have the same appeal, as megastar-ish as he is.
You know, it's a Hail Mary pass, considering that we did vote him in based off of identity politics. And I'm not saying that all is bad, because he did do some things that I didn't necessarily disagree with that Trump absolutely did better than him. But at the same time, I felt that it was incredibly disrespectful, because he's making the assumption that we're not educated enough to lead our families, to look at the policies, to understand exactly what's going on with immigration. And we're supposed to overlook everything that they did over the last 3.5 years that was not in our favor. And when I say our, I'm talking about the American people, let alone men, let alone black men. And we're supposed to vote for her because of some misogynistic reason that's made up. And instead, we've learned how to educate ourselves, and now they've sent their Messiah back to rein us in and bring us back into the Democratic plantation. And most men that I've spoken with have said that it's absolutely disrespectful, and we're done with Obama.
Wow. Well, Xavier, again, when he says, "You're lucky Michelle's not here," he does. What is that supposed to mean? I mean, I guess it's supposed to be funny because she'll scold them in a more convincing or scarier fashion. It's kind of treating young black men
like
as children.
Kids.
Almost like your children, and mommy's coming back and mommy's gonna chastise you and you're gonna get punished, but you're supposed to vote against your own economic interests to make Michelle and Barack happy and their 4 mansions.
It's absolutely degrading, and black men are sick of being reduced to being expected to think with our skin color. We have seen how terrible the Obama, Biden, Harris trilogy has been for our country. It has completely demoralized our country, and quite frankly, Obama has no credibility, because this is the same man who heavily endorsed Joe Biden, and we all can feel in our pockets, and we can see it for sure at our border, just how terrible the Biden-Harris administration has been for our country. And Obama admitted himself back in an interview with Steve Colbert that if he could, he would run our country from an earpiece down in the basement. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's exactly what he's doing.
Now, Xavier, Anton, the media are really pushing Obama to be the, rescue agent for Kamala's campaign. Watch this.
Barack Obama, with joy and with humor, is able to sort of get through to an audience that it's not okay to lie. It's not okay to sell the presidency. It's not okay to be a narcissist and to have the reins of the presidency.
Anton, so Kamala's joy campaign isn't really working. So Obama's going to come in, and again, you're supposed to make less money in real terms, and be happy with it to make Obama and like MSNBC happy? I don't understand this argument.
They took the same blueprint that got Obama elected, and he was a first for us, right? So our grandparents and our parents and things like that wanted to see this happen, but they were largely voting out of ignorance and voluntary ignorance because they only wanted that identity politics in order to push him through into the presidency. But admittedly, where he was charismatic, she isn't. And so we can see through her. She's a chameleon. When they unleashed her and they allowed for her to be able to take reporters' questions and things like that, it showed that she was completely incompetent. And frankly, not only do we feel disrespected, but I'm uncomfortable with Obama standing in front of us trying to scold us and then divert our attention away from the things that's really meaningful, especially for our families. I'm not comfortable with him. I don't want to hear any more messages of hope. I don't want to hear any more messages of joy. I can feel it with my pocketbooks. My friends can feel it with their pocketbooks. And we're ready for him to get out of our way.
I mean, Xavier, I saw something on YouTube. I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was Instagram. But it was a young man, African American, and he was talking about the price of food. And I think he was at some fast food place. I can't remember what. I think it might have been McDonald's. But just the nuts and bolts, when you go through just what a Happy Meal costs, the differential in simple things that families like to treat themselves to, that's shocking. Like in Obama, that doesn't affect him. It doesn't affect Hillary. It doesn't affect Trump. But Trump somehow has that ability to say, that's not acceptable in America. But they think Obama's charm is going to override daily life for people. The charm offensive from him. It's not 2008 any longer.
Not at all.
I can
Mr. Tracy J. Norby with the super chat. He says, I'll just say the current administration has been too derelict about everything that they've done. The Democratic Party in the early 60s was much better than these days. I would agree 100%. JFK was a Democrat. Was so much better than these. I'm a proud American. I'm one who believes America comes first always. Love USA. Let's go. Everybody, show Mr. Tracy J. Norby some love in the chat.
Enough that being a young black voter, it feels like the Democrats are constantly trying to gaslight me about my own reality. I know how expensive food is. I know how expensive gas is. And I know how many illegal immigrants are running around in Los Angeles. We are sick and tired of being expected to feel good with Barack Obama, or now they're trying to put the ovarian version of Barack Obama up there and tell us that she is talented. She is absolutely not talented. And on behalf of black men, it's not that we're opposed to having a female president, because Miss Ingram, I would love to vote for you if you ever decide to run.
Hey!
Only if you guys are in my cabinet. That's the only way I'm going to do it.
Let me tell you this. Carrie Lake, I'd vote for her for president. I think she could get stuff done. But I'm telling you this because I love what we do when we show you the truth. We show you things you normally don't see. That the FBI, what they've been doing behind the scenes, I'm telling you, this is going to make you super upset, but this is the truth that people need to see. Check this out.
How many other parishes around the country have priests or choir directors been approached? By the way, are Catholic choirs now, are they breeding grounds for domestic terrorism? Is this your latest theory? How many other parishes have FBI agents approached priests and choir directors to ask about parishioners?
Look, Senator, we do not and will not conduct investigations based on anybody's exercise of their constitutionally
You
protected
have
religion.
done so, and your memo explicitly asks for it. Your memo labels traditional Catholics as racially and ethnically motivated violent extremists in need of investigation. You have a list of churches, a list in the memo. You've repeatedly said we don't target churches, we don't list churches. They're listed in the memo. So how many other parishes have you gone to talk to choir directors, for heaven's sake?
As I've
know the answer to that question.
Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Ray, thank you for being here. I noticed with interest in your written testimony that you said, and I'm quoting you now, the FBI uses all tools available at its disposal to combat domestic terrorism, which now apparently includes the crime of being Catholic. Let's talk a little bit about the FBI's egregious targeting of Catholic Americans.
Wow.
You have repeatedly been asked about the memo generated by the Richmond field office. We now know in collaboration with multiple other field offices about recruiting sources in Catholic churches. You have repeatedly said that no human sources were approached. This is you on July the 12th in the House. You were asked directly by Jim Jordan, do you think that priests ought to be approached to give information on parishioners? You said, no, sir, no, sir. You went on to say, we do not recruit, open, or operate human sources. We do not report on religious organizations. You went on to say, this product, meaning the Richmond memo, has not resulted in any investigative action. But now we know that, in fact, FBI agents did approach a priest and a choir director to ask them to inform on parishioners. So were you lied to when you gave this testimony, or were you lying to Congress?
Wow.
Neither. So your question conflates two different things. There's the intelligence product itself, which the Richmond field office created. It was written by, as our inspection found, by analysts in Richmond, reviewed by people in Richmond, and captioned Richmond field office product. Separately from that, there was an investigation of a specific individual who was amassing Molotov cocktails and posting about killing people. And it does not surprise me that there were people who knew that subject in that investigation, that is the guy building the Molotov cocktails and trying to kill people, that people talked to the witnesses who knew that person. And I think the product, the Richmond intelligence product, which cites that investigation, is actually pretty transparent about exactly what I just said.
No, I don't think so at all. In fact, the only reason we know this is a whistleblower has come forward and told the House under oath that the FBI went and interviewed priests and choir directors in the Richmond area. The House goes on to say that the FBI has repeatedly refused to disclose this information. The only reason we know it is because a whistleblower came forward with it. Just like the only reason we know about this memo is because a whistleblower came forward with it. How many other parishes around the country have priests or choir directors been approached? By the way, are Catholic choirs now, are they breeding grounds for domestic terrorism? Is this your latest theory? How many other parishes have FBI agents approached priests and choir directors to ask about parishioners?
Look, Senator, we do not and will not conduct investigations based on anybody's exercise of their constitutionally
You
protected
have
religion.
done so, and your memo explicitly asks for it. Your memo labels traditional Catholics as racially and ethnically motivated violent extremists in need of investigation.
Look, you can't get no more just frank as that. The memo that comes from the FBI director says all these things. We only know this because of a whistleblower, but this is where we're at. I'm telling you, the federal government, 428 federal agencies. This is why we need Trump in place, Elon Musk, to go in, clean house, and make sure that we reduce and limit government so that way things like this crap don't happen. Hey, Shafika Rahim, thank you so much for the super chat. Everybody, show Shafika some love in the chat.
Have a list of churches, a list in the memo. You've repeatedly said we don't target churches, we don't list churches. They're listed in the memo. So how many other parishes have you gone to talk to choir directors, for heaven's sake?
As I've
know the answer to that question.
No, I don't know the answer to that question, but I can tell you that we don't investigate people for their exercise of their constitutionally protected religious expression. That particular intelligence product is something that as soon as I saw it, I was aghast. I had it withdrawn.
Really, you were aghast?
I was.
Oh, really? And
Yes,
what
sir.
have you done about it? Did you fire the people who wrote it?
Nope. No, I had it withdrawn.
Have you fired anybody involved in it?
Senator, if you would give me a chance to answer
That's a
your
yes
question.
or a no. It's not hard. Have you fired anyone involved in the writing of that outrageous memo, about which, frankly, you've repeatedly misled the public? Yes or no?
The individuals involved in that
Have you
product
fired
were
anyone?
Just a minute, were not found to have engaged in any intentional or bad faith conduct. And in fact, Senator, a number of the individuals involved in writing that product in the Richmond office were themselves Catholic. So the notion that they were targeting their own faith
so they
is
have a
nonsense.
get out of jail free card. I see. I see. So
I
you're
did
immune
not
and
say
they're
that.
immune. So we shouldn't ask questions about it. You haven't done a darn thing. You haven't fired anybody. In fact, what the House found is, what is it? You admonished them. They were admonished. and their respective supervisors were told to engage with the Human Resources Division to ensure that deficiencies are addressed. Oh, I feel much better. They've been sent to bed without food. Good heavens, Director. This is one of the most outrageous targetings. You have mobilized your division, the most powerful law enforcement division in the world, against traditionalist Catholics, whatever the heck that means. And you're just told us you have not fired a single person. I mean, here, it gets worse. Your Richmond field office, they thought there was nothing wrong with this. The House interviewed the head of the Richmond field office. He testified. It's all here in the public report. I refer you to it, pages 12, 13, 14. He testified he saw no problem with this. He said he thought it was fine. In fact, we have internal memoranda of the members of the field office high-fiving. One peer reviewer, another member of the field office wrote, "I think this is a great product. I really enjoyed the read."
Do y'all see, like, where things are? This is why, again, I know that there's a divide in the United States. I know that a lot of people, they're doing things now. People are super upset. But you know where it all comes from, though? Because I'm telling you this, when leadership gets crazy, it kind of runs down. You don't think that? I want to show you something. I don't know if you remember this. They even back in 2021, whenever Biden was with, the hurricane was coming. They were trying. Everybody's trying to prepare for the hurricane. This dude is more focused on people getting vaccinated and is saying that that's what it's going to take to be prepared for the hurricane. I'm telling you, when leadership at the top starts getting crazy, that's when we got to watch out. Check this out.
Let me be clear. If you're in a state where hurricanes often strike, like Florida or the Gulf Coast or into Texas, a vital part of preparing for hurricane season is to get vaccinated now.
Are you serious?
Everything is more complicated if you're not vaccinated in a hurricane or a natural disaster hits.
Don't worry about protecting your family, making sure that you have your essentials. Make sure you got your kids' pictures or things like that are like, you could lose forever. It's all about going and doing this agenda-like thing. And that's just, again, where we're at, because what you're about to see next, what I love is that when Donald Trump comes out, he's literally saying, look, things are bad and we have to do something about it. But what we can't do about it is nothing. And here's the law that Biden and Harris could use right now to protect the American people, yet they're not doing it. If I'm president, I will do this. Check this out.
We will have an Operation Aurora at the federal level to expedite the removals of these savage gangs. And I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798.
As former President Trump announces Operation Aurora to tackle illegal immigration head on, Vice President Harris struggling to walk the line on the issue, claiming she's done plenty.
I will put my record up against anyone in terms of the work I have always done and will always do to ensure we have a secure border.
Here to discuss is Colorado congressional candidate and former head of ICE in the Denver region, John Fabricatore. John, great to see you as always. As a former head of ICE, what's your reaction to President Trump's plan?
Look, this is what we need. President Trump has to do this right now because of what we're dealing with in Aurora, Colorado, and throughout the United States, in Chicago, in New York, and in Texas. He has to do this. As Alien Enemies Act of 1798 has to be taken into effect because this is the only option he has. This Biden-Harris administration has let in millions of unvetted young gang members, or just millions of people over the last 4 months, and hundreds of gang members into the U.S., and we need to do something about it. So we need President Trump to come on and do something like this to make sure that America can stay safe.
I mean, look, admittedly, the question does become whether legally, if elected, President Trump can do this based upon that very old law. But we will wait and see what ultimately happens. The fact of the matter is Donald Trump has a plan, and all Kamala Harris has thus far, about 3 weeks ago before the elections, are platitudes, talk about her record without saying exactly what she has done. Mind you, 3.5 years, we've noticed she hasn't done a lot to help the border problem. Many would say she's made it a lot worse. So should she be as confident in her quote-unquote record as she is, John?
Yeah, like you just said, quote-unquote record. What has she actually done? I mean, she's been against ICE before. She said that out loud. She doesn't want deportations. If she becomes president, we're looking at amnesty. That's her record. That's who Kamala Harris is. If Kamala Harris becomes president, we're looking at a worse situation than we're in now. I mean, when you look at President Trump and you look what he did on the border, that's a record. When you look at Vice President Harris and her failed border czar, a job, she's done nothing for the border.
Here's a reminder of what Biden and Harris did together in the last 3.5 years. Halted work on Trump's border wall, only to approve a new section later on. Ended remain in Mexico, allowed Venezuelan illegal immigrants, as we've seen, to remain in U.S., only to begin deporting them again. Created that controversial migrant parole program, only to find reports of massive fraud. 20 seconds to you. If you're a voter, John, that prioritizes border security, how is there even a question of who to vote for?
There's not a question of who to vote for. You need to vote for Donald Trump if you want to secure this country, if you want to keep gangs from ravaging and raiding inside the United States. This is what you have to do. TDA has done it through South America. We've seen what they can do. We need Donald Trump to be president, to come back and be our president so that we don't have this situation anymore.
Big time. Crunk Juice, thank you so much for the super chat. Said Christopher Wray was appointed by Trump. I really hope he does a better job this time around with his nominations. I'll tell you this. Everybody show Crunk Juice some love in the chat that people are fed up. Like, you can only go for so long and you can only gaslight so many people. But what you just saw there and what you're about to hear next is that it's politics, politics, politics. These politicians, instead of making sure that Americans are safe, they let their party, their politics get in the way. People have lost their lives. Women have lost their lives. A young girl lost her life and was raped. I mean, this type of crap happens because politics gets in the freaking way. But we need change. We need real leadership that says, forget about the politics. I don't care if you're red. I don't care if you're blue. I care that you're American. Check this out.
The Harris campaign's media blitz included a Univision town hall last night. The vice president is wooing Latino voters and talking up what she says is a good record on border security.
I will put my record up against anyone.
And you will lose.
In terms of the work I have always done and will always do to ensure we have a secure border. When I am elected president, I will bring back that border security bill and I will sign it into law.
She's acknowledging she was in charge. My policy, my border security, my. You caught that, right?
Look at this.
All you need to know, though, is one number.
This is so bad.
206. That's the percentage. 206%, the jump in illegal immigrant encounters at our southern border. People are flowing over, and it's exploded by 206% under the watch of Biden and Kamala Harris. A new op-ed with the title, Harris's Media Blitz of Border Security, Lies and Deceit. That's a quote, a headline. Congressman Byron Donalds, Republican of Florida, he is also a Trump surrogate. What do you make of all of this?
What I make is that Kamala Harris really has nowhere to go. Her administration destroyed our southern border. They've let almost more than 10 million illegal immigrants into our country. And it didn't really have to be this way, Harris.
No,
when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden came in, they signed 94 executive orders getting rid of all of Donald Trump's border security policies. It was stupid then. It's terrible now. The results have been disastrous. The only way to fix it is by electing Donald Trump, because she's not going to change the border procedures. She's going to go back to what they did for the first 3 years of this administration. The only reason why Joe Biden did this amnesty, this amnesty shutdown over the last 6 months is simply because of the election. No other reasons. And now she's trying to run around saying she signed a Senate bill. The Senate bill was terrible. It never would have got a vote in the House of Representatives.
You know, it's interesting that you call it an amnesty shutdown, because they adjusted the numbers of the people coming across, and then they exploded in a couple of different programs to bring people in the air. And we didn't know that that was north of 1.5 million until just recently. So there are even more people. We don't necessarily know that much about where they might be right now. And there's no way they're vetting that many when they couldn't do it at the border. So it's like having the border in the sky.
No, you're absolutely correct. And I misspoke, not amnesty, their asylum situation. They shut down the one coming across the southern border. They've exploded the one using the CBP-1 app that allows people just to get on flights and come into the United States. They've been playing a shell game with the American people for 4 years. And so all she's going to do if she wins this election is go back to the same shell game that's going to frustrate the American people. It's going to overwhelm our cities. It's going to smash budgets in every state and every city in our country.
In other words, it's more pressure because it was doing
That's right.
that. Yeah, and it continues to when you take into account all of the gang members that have been let in. 425,000 people who had criminal records. We don't even know where most of those people are. Like, and when I say most, I mean north of 95%. 13,000 of them murderers, Congressman. The Biden-Harris administration is still fighting back against negative coverage of the initial hurricane response 2 weeks ago of Hurricane Helene. Anytime we ask a question, anytime a congressman like my guest asks a question, they're labeling it misinformation. Yesterday, President Biden went after former President Trump, accusing him of spreading lies about Helene and Milton.
Mr. President, have you spoken with former President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me?
Camp Goer 1 with the super chat said praying for the red wave. Let's go. The House, the Senate, and the presidency. Everybody show Camp Goer 1 some love in the chat.
Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable? You said you were going to hold those accountable.
Public will hold them accountable. You better than the press hold them accountable because you know the truth.
Ooh, and a finger point. I don't know, Congressman. Could have turned that around to the mirror. Who got there first? And Trump's not even in office. What's your reaction?
That's true.
My reaction is that, well, with respect to Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina, the federal government was slow to the job. There were people in those hills. They weren't getting them the help that they need. My colleague who's been interviewed about this, Corey Mills, and other just civilians were using their own helicopters to get into those hills to do the job that the federal government wasn't there to do. People are frustrated. They're not getting help. And so, of course, they're going to make their voices heard about this. And the response from the Biden administration is misinformation. You got Kamala Harris staging phone calls with mayors in Florida before Hurricane Milton to show that she's actually doing something. This is what's wrong with this administration. Instead of just doing the active response crisis that they should be doing, they don't respond quickly. They do not lead. And then when they're called on it, they lash out at people for calling them for their mismanagement and their lack of ability to respond to crisis when it happens. In Florida, we've been dealing with hurricanes. We deal with them all the time. You don't see our governor running around talking about people saying the wrong thing. He's actively moving resources into position and then responding when the storm passes. You'll do your media cleanup later. But these people here have only been concerned about their image.
Politics.
They've not been focused on any crisis facing the American people, whether it's a natural disaster or a politically caused disaster like our border, like our foreign policy right now. I've had enough of them. The American people have had enough of them. We need a change this November.
Let me tell you this. People are so fed up because Donald Trump actually just posted this just minutes ago, probably 6 minutes ago. This is where things are at. Since Kamala took office, groceries are up 22%, electricity 31%, rent 23%, car insurance 57%. K through 12 food, 70%. I got 3 kids. I know what that's like. Trust me, this stuff ain't cheap. Gasoline, 38%. Eggs, 69%. Airfare, 25% to those who fly. I hate flying. But still, this is the reality. This is how much things are up in just 3.5 years because of all the stupid spending by the federal government. Just imagine if they get another 4 years. She already says she wants to spend $7.3 trillion in 2025 when it's like we don't take that much money in. In order for us to spend that, we're going to have to do what? We're going to have to borrow, which grows the national debt, which means we have to print more money, which means we're going to keep losing on the inflation. And that's what bothers me, is that from these politicians' standpoint, they don't care. They're just so used to controlling everybody else's money. They're so used to just having their way with whatever they want, and they get everything paid for by taxpayers. What does it matter to them? Check this out.
Larry, we can't figure out what he's trying to say. He's trying to gaslight grocery shoppers in the checkout line. And that it's that. So Tim Walz is making that blunder on top of Obama scolding black male voters, saying you're sexist if you don't vote for Kamala Harris. What is going on now?
What's going on is the polls are coming in and they're realizing that they may very well lose this election. About grocery prices, at least, Liz, they've gone from talking about gouging to now saying, I guess the grocery clerks that are putting the prices there are somehow putting the wrong prices and they're misleading you. Regarding Obama, I think it's pretty cheeky. Obama said the brothers are the problem, meaning the black men who are increasingly voting for Donald Trump. I guess he has that conversation, Liz, with the brothers in Martha's Vineyard when he hangs out at the barbershop and talks about what's going on in the real world.
All right, so
this is a guy who grew up in Hawaii.
Yeah, keep
His
going.
father got an economics degree. His father got an econ degree from Harvard. His mother had a PhD, raised by his middle class, upper middle class white grandparents in Hawaii, and he's lecturing the brothers on how they got to think about life. 20% higher grocery store prices between now and 2.5 years ago. The question is real simple: are you better off now than you were 2.5 or 3 years ago? And the answer is not, unless you're an illegal alien. You're not.
Wow.
I mean, we hear you. I mean, food and housing are driving CPI numbers to come in hotter recently than expected for September. I mean, wholesale producer price numbers, we got to just hit the economic trend here. They fell just only a tenth of a point in September. So when you see Kamala Harris talking like this, Larry, we want to get your reaction on, again, she's asked how she's going to fix inflation. Watch her answer here. Listen to this.
And your point, listen, I know prices are too high still. Again, you've heard my story. I come from the working class. And then some, corporation, and it's very few of them that do this, but then jack up prices. So that's why I'm taking on, for example, price gouging, which is when, most companies and corporations are good, but for those bad ones, they take advantage of people.
Okay, here's the thing. So, I mean, Larry, I can't make it's like trying to follow a gnat in a windstorm.
You can't make this crap up.
And you can't follow the train of thought. Let me back up. So she's saying there's price gouging. Then she says few companies are doing it. Then Tim Walz is claiming grocery stores are false somehow. The New York Federal Reserve Bank, the San Francisco Fed already debunked this, saying there's little proof groceries and companies are price gouging. They're blaming it on higher operating costs for things like worker wages and commodities. I mean, food manufacturing costs have, I think.
Remember when Harris and all them said, "Oh man, we got to raise the minimum wage and we got to do this and this and this and that." Well, there you go. More expensive groceries, everything. Just like in California, when they raised the minimum wage, I think it was like to $20 an hour, like hundreds and hundreds of businesses closed because they couldn't afford it. And now it's like this is coming to bite them in the butt, but this is the facts.
Up more than 28% since 2020. And that's kept the grocery profit margins down to a razor-thin 1.6. Now, Larry, I didn't mean to hit all that nerdy data there, but when you look at the facts, Larry, it's like Obama rhetoric, right? Obama smearing, just coming out there with no facts, no policy fixes. He claimed that Trump inherited his good economy when Trump inherited a 1.6%, 9% GDP growth from Obama. So, when you see like the bloviating political flannel rhetoric and the facts, Larry, how do black voters take it? How do black voters on the street take it?
Well, the same way any voter takes it, they feel insulted. They can see what the prices are. Kamala Harris has no plan. She said that she couldn't think of any major issue or even minor issue where she disagreed with Joe Biden. And if you're part of the 2/3 of Americans who believe we're on the wrong track and you hear the leader who put us on the wrong track say that I wouldn't do anything any differently, what makes you think the person who put you on the wrong track is going to put you on the right track?
Exactly.
And at least, I guess she's downgraded now. She used to say, well, I'm from the middle class. Now she says from the working class. Next thing you know, she's going to say she was from the ghetto on food stamps. So she keeps moving the goalpost.
Okay, you got to laugh out of me, Larry Elder. And for that, we want you to come back soon.
Let me tell you this. It's, again, too, the flip-flop. Like, and what's the best thing about this, y'all, I love it, is that more than ever, because we have X, because we have this platform where we have that freedom and things don't get deleted, things don't get downgraded as misinformation just because it goes against a political party, that we get to pull all this stuff back up and show the truth of what the heck is actually going on. Because no matter what, Trump's got a plan, wants to clean up the United States. I'm really excited about this plan, Operation Aurora. Here's a little bit more about it. Check it out.
Today, Trump announced his plan to deport migrant criminals and make America safe again.
In honor of Jocelyn, Nungari, Lakin, Riley, beautiful Lakin, Rachel, Morin, and all of the others that are dead and or mortally wounded at the hands of migrants who should never have been allowed into our country, I'm announcing today that upon taking office, we will have an Operation Aurora at the federal level. To expedite the removals of these savage gangs.
Trump will be invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Yeah.
Wow.
An authority that allows the president to detain and deport foreign nationals who've invaded the country without a hearing. This is what it'll look like.
We will send elite squads of ICE, Border Patrol, and federal law enforcement officers to hunt down, arrest, and deport every last illegal alien gang member until there is not a single one left in this country.
That's what we need.
And if they come back into our country, they will be told it is an automatic 10-year sentence in jail with no possibility of parole. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer.
That right there is a real solution to one of America's biggest problems. What's Kamala doing? She's pandering to Hispanics with a new accent.
What would your administration do differently in the case of Milton?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question, and I hope your family is okay and your home is okay.
What the heck?
Okay, what about the border? Hispanic Americans want a secure border, just like every American. And they know Joe and Kamala haven't delivered.
What would you do differently from what's been done in the Biden administration to make sure that the border is secure and orderly?
I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in this country, California, that is also a border state. I have taken on transnational criminal organizations. I have taken on transnational criminal organizations that traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings, and I've prosecuted them. So I will put my record up against anyone in terms of the work I have always done and will always do to ensure we have a secure border.
She didn't answer the question because she already answered it Tuesday. She wouldn't do anything different than Joe. Kamala doesn't have a plan. Her plan is Joe's plan, which is open sesame. She's just got the same tired talking points, and the audience is noticing. Look at how one audience member rolls her eyes and says word for word what Kamala says, almost like she's heard it all before.
Unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver tray and filed for bankruptcy 6 times.
Kamala's axe wearing thin. Kamala Harris's lead with Latinos is shrinking. And now all the money Democrats invested in getting souls to the polls and ballot harvesting may be backfiring. Get this. Wisconsin Democrats are very worried about Kamala Harris's vote margins in Milwaukee. The thinking is that their get-out-to-vote efforts might be inadvertently boosting Trump votes among black and Latino men. You heard that. Democrats are worried they're going to be harvesting all of these black and brown ballots, and they're just going to be votes for Trump.
This is like, I love it because it's, you know, the truth that people, they see how fake she is. We can all see it. I mean, when you've got 7 different accents, you start thinking that this person has a multiple personality disorder, you know, schizophrenic, something going on, or she has such a need to please people that she's willing to change herself in any form or fashion to appease the crowd. And that's what we're seeing. You don't, this is so ingenuine. This is so fake. And I feel like more and more, that's why Trump is winning big time in the polls, that people see that more than ever before. Out of any candidate, I think, out of any candidate I've ever seen or heard, she's the most fake candidate to ever run for president. I don't know. Am I wrong, chat? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section, because I truly feel like Kamala Harris is the most fake candidate. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. We are truly grateful to be serving you every single day with the top news. Just want to say thank you to everybody. You know, I was sick a couple of days ago. I'm still trying to get over it. But just want to say how thankful we are to all of our members of the channel. Remember, the link is in the description to join. And also, thank you to all of those that give a super chat. Want to give some shout outs to Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Shafika Rahim, Crunk Jews, Camp Goer 1. In about a little week over half, about a week in a little bit over a week and a half, we are going to be giving a donation to the hurricane victims live on this channel. Thank you so much for the support. Y'all show them some love in the chat. I truly agree. She is Chameleon Harris. Kamala Chameleon. She truly is. But we are going to bring the truth here on this channel. We love you all so much. Appreciate you. And we will see you in the next one. Take care.